You're welcome to today's podcast. I remain your host. My name is Bridget with Life with Bridget Podcast. Today, we are fortunate to have an amazing guest. You all know who she is. Well, if you don't know, I will be saying this to you. You have to stay tuned to the social media platforms and what's happening around in the community. Permit me to introduce Sophia Etuhube. Welcome, Sophia. Yay!
Hi.
We're truly honored to have Sophia today. I'm just going to give a little bio about Sophia briefly. Then I'll allow her tell us what I haven't mentioned here. I'm not supposed to steal the spotlight from her, right? So Sophia is a journalist. She's a coach, a mentor, speaker, and an entrepreneur that is focused on using storytelling to inspire and support immigrants in Canada. She recently works as a reporter and editor at CBC Radio Canada, crafting stories that resonate with diverse communities. Previously, she co-owned Jazz Pictures. It's a media in Nigeria and contributed to several leading TV networks. Trust me, with a master in organizational management and a bachelor's in linguistics, Sophia is committed to making a positive impact through her work. Since moving to Canada in 2021, she has made Fredericton her home and she's actively a volunteer in her community. Welcome, Sophia. Please tell us what we don't already know about you from the bio.
So, um, first things first, I want to say thank you so much for having me today. I am privileged that yourself and your audience find my story interesting, or rather find me as an interesting guest, to be on your podcast today. Well, Sophia, like I like to tell myself, is just the immigrant next door who is thriving, who is a mother, who is a great resource to her community. I love to volunteer my weekends like today to share my story with my community, to inspire them, to share positivity, and to just sound the gong of possibility to everybody who needs to listen. Yes, please. Um, I am an entrepreneur. I started out as an entrepreneur back home in Nigeria, and it has just become like a great part of my life. So I currently have this organization that we help immigrants to settle in, like finding accommodation and all the likes of that, just to give them a soft landing and to make them feel welcome when they arrive here in Canada. I am a reporter and I work here in Fredericton. You might have seen one or two stories that I might have covered, but maybe because you don't know me now, you know me. And I love to dance. I love to be, I am the life of the party. I like to just be around my community. I am a big fan of community regardless of your color or who you are. I'm just a big fan of good people that make up my community. So that is who I am. And you already mentioned I'm a mentor and I'm a coach. I'm a public speaker. I am someone called me an influencer recently. You did. You did.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
So
You may
and
not know
the
that
only
this is what's happening, but trust me, it is.
Great. And the
Yeah.
only influence I want to, or the only influencing I want to be doing is to just spread positivity around me and to motivate and inspire women, especially, and children, because I have children and I am a woman. So those are the journeys that I understand the most. So that's who I am.
Yes, so it's amazing because we have a lot of things in common, like the volunteering thing, we're into community, mentoring, coaching. This is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, This lady is truly busy. And I appreciate that you took out the time to be here today. It means a lot to me, and I know the audience are super excited to have you here as well.
You.
Well, today's topic of discussion is from immigrant to influencer, navigating success in Canada. She may think, maybe sounding modest, that she's not an influencer, but trust me, she is. Probably knowingly or unknowingly, she's impacting life and influencing people along the way. So, Sophie, thank you once more.
I'm honored. Thank you
Truly,
so
truly,
much.
I'm truly super excited that you're here. So now I know well, another thing we have in common is we studied the same course from the university, Masters in Organizational Management, the same school, same course. We have
Yeah,
so much in
come
common.
on.
So you see, when they say we are the people with the
Yeah,
party, that's what it is. Yeah. So we have a
the
whole lot
vibe of
in common.
all the party.
Yes. And just to tip it up a little, if you actually have as your contact on WhatsApp, this lady, I don't know how she gets the energy, the vibes. And people say, Bridget, you're active. I'm like, no, I am not. Have you met Sophie? I said, no, 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 don't say that. That's no, no. I don't know how she does this.
I don't know how I do it, girl. I don't
I don't
know.
know how I do mine. Then how the hell does she do this? I don't know how she's combining everything and still being a super mom to her kids. You know what it means to be a mom? It's like you're a horse.
Hmm. Tell me about it.
It's like you're a horse who loves
Yeah.
to ride and gallop with everybody on your back, and then you still want to do it today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, and forever. This is super amazing. So I'm going to be asking a few questions. Okay, please. I want you to be descriptive of possible so people can understand your journey, your
Oh,
story, and where you're going to. So I'm going to be start like from your personal journey and background. Can you share your immigration story? Like what motivated you to relocate to Canada and what were your initial experience like?
um, what motivated me to move to Canada? I think the first time immigration or immigrating to Canada came to my mind was after I got married and I had my first child. And then the second baby, my husband and I started thinking, yeah, maybe we needed to do more for ourselves, right? We needed to give our children more opportunities. We want to give our children the life that we did not have. Just like most immigrants, I believe, who came here to have babies. So I wanted to explore the option of, coming here to have my second baby. But fortunately, I would say, not unfortunately, because nothing is unfortunate in my life.
Like that.
Fortunately, that didn't work out how we had planned, but that was because God had other plans, better plans. So after I had my baby back in 2020, the inspiration even became more, in our minds to just, go to Canada. I have always wanted to go to Canada. Canada was like the country where a lot of people that I knew visited and had like, great stories to talk about. So I was like, well, if I'm going to go to anywhere in the world, it has to be this one Canada place. After I had my baby, we started making some research, and then I decided, why not just take the opportunity to go to school? I've always wanted to have a second degree, but I didn't want to go back to the same university I did and I studied, that is University of Nigeria. I wanted to, explore something else. I was like, well, if I want to go to school, then I might as well go to Canada and go to school.
Good
And
choice.
in that period, there was just a lot of insecurity happening around us back in Nigeria. Lagos was becoming so hot and uncomfortable. There was a lot of police brutality. So if you have a young guy at home, a young husband, you're always afraid when they're outside. So that was the main thing that just ticks the box like, okay, you guys have to do something right now. and we just put in application to some universities. And shout out to InfoPlace Canada. She was very helpful, Florence. I hope you see this. She was very helpful to us. She helped us do all the research about the provinces that would fit my lifestyle, because I'm a very oriented person. I'm a very communal person. And we decided that after checking all that, coming to New Brunswick would be the best. And we put in application, and on first application, everything just aligned. That's why I said it's not unfortunate, because at the first application, everything came. The university approved, our visas came through and on time. And that's how we moved to Canada. And for the next part of your question that asked me how my experience has been, I would say I like to focus on the part that has worked, right? I like to focus the on the fact that I have overcome a lot to be where I am right now, to be privileged to be on your podcast, right? To find that my story is worth sharing. So I like to focus on the things that are going right for me, like having my kids thrive in their lives, my spouse thriving in his career. We've just bought a house this year, just barely after 2 years of moving to Canada, right? I have a job that I really love. I am in a community that I am surrounded by very supportive and very awesome people like Bridget. I am in a community that is helping me, a community that is helping my voice be heard, a community that is giving me a platform to rise above the woman that I was. So I think that's how far my journey has been. I do have some days when it's not as I expect, some down times and everything, but like when they kicked my son out of daycare 3 times in a row. Those were not like some happy days. Those are some very bad days that deprived me of my self-confidence. I hated myself. I regretted the choice to come here. But those days are in my past. That's why I say I focus on what's working. So far, so good. I'll say that life in Canada has been exactly what God wanted it to be.
That's amazing. Um, okay. Wow. Whoa. Okay. I'm a bit, taken aback by the situation of your son being kicked out from daycare. So I have an episode coming like not anytime soon. I have a friend who shares the same story with you, and I'm sure she would love to connect with you. Like, trust me, it's juicy. You're gonna like it. To talk about it after this.
I would love
So
to talk to
yeah,
her.
yeah. I know that there are a lot of challenges, especially as immigrants in a new community. However, we try to make things seem like, oh, it's perfect. We know that that's not what it is. There are challenges.
Mhm.
What challenges did you face when you first arrived in the community, both personally or professionally, and how did you overcome those challenges, if any?
I think one of the first challenges would be thrown into this state of isolation, this loneliness, this feeling of just, being alone in the world. And the only people I had in my life at the time, thankfully, because not all immigrants are opportune to come with their family, but I had my husband and 2 children, yet I felt so lonely. And it was just like a life of isolation to only these 3 people, right? So that was the first thing that hit me. And the next thing that I would say hit me was the issue of not being able to walk just like I wanted to, because another problem was I could not get a daycare spot for my son, for my 2 kids, actually.
Need
I
challenge.
couldn't get, yes, I couldn't um get them into school. And when I was fortunate enough to get my son into the first school, they kicked him out. The second school, they kicked him out. The third school, they kicked him out. So that broke me. It broke me into pieces. I was just a helpless mother who felt like her children did not have a place here. right? So I was so broken and I was so devastated. It was 1 year of heartbreak, 1 year of sadness, 1 year of regret, 1 year of loss of self-confidence,
Mm.
1 year of feeling small, 1 year of unemployment, 1 year of just hating my life, right? So all those things were some of the challenges I faced. And then I had also faced the challenges of just thinking of how to even something as common as cook the right meals.
Mm.
Try to find the things that I needed to cook meals for my children, just trying to navigate life without, because the initial year I didn't have community around me, just like some immigrants, and that affects us a lot. That not having a community, unless you're fortunate to know someone on ground when you come, it makes life easy. But for us, it was just us. So we were learning everything on our own. So it was my first 1 year was not exactly a pleasant experience. It was a very tough and downtime for me. And I honestly do not want to see that in my future again.
Very would want that. Um, Before answer the other part of the question. So when you mentioned no community, was it because you didn't want to mix with people in the community that very year, or you were just studying them, or you felt like what could do without the community?
I didn't know there was even a community.
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa.
that was the craziest part. I didn't know there was a community. I didn't know if there was like a communication gap where there was not enough publicity about the community, or because I did not search well enough.
Probably.
But I also felt like the emotional issues I was dealing with, my son being kicked out of school, just blinded me and threw me into more isolation. And I started hiding.
Mm.
So I felt like the world was just against me and my child. So I just went into myself and I didn't want to have anything to do with too many people. My son was regressing. I was having to learn a lot of new things. It was just so much baggage on my head. So I was not exactly thinking of so much except how to help my child and how to survive the next day, right? So that was what happened. It was never because I didn't want to have anything to do with the community. I remember after I found the Nigerian community, myself and my husband sat down in our living room for almost 3 hours, just lamenting how, like, what? This is real? This is possible? Over 100 people? Where have they been? Why don't we bump into them?
Building a community is truly, truly
Mm.
encouraging. I tell people,
Oh,
find a community. Don't feel isolated. I know it's hard. Reach out. There are a lot of platforms out there. You can find them on Facebook. We know
exactly.
word of mouth.
Yeah,
There are good communities. There are people that are
yeah,
out there that are genuinely out there to support,
yeah,
fellow immigrants as themselves as
yeah.
well.
So we
So
didn't have that. So
yeah. If you don't mind me asking this question, was there like a reason why your son was kicked out from daycare, if you want to share that?
they kept saying he was being too active, that he had too much energy inside of him.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
You don't know that for us when the child is active, then the child is okay.
He just had a lot of life to share. And
Whoa.
yeah, so
Whoa.
that's what they kept saying. But yeah, that's in the past right now.
Yeah, well, I like that you just mentioned that that's in the past now. So how were you able to overcome, some of this? Was it just by, meeting the community, or were there more things?
Um, so first thing that helped me through those very dark days was actually just letting go and letting God.
Mm.
I knew that I was struggling because I was trying to do everything by myself. I was trying to figure everything out by myself. But at one point, I fell so under deep into the pit that I knew that I needed to just hands off. So what I did was I had to just run to God. And I'm like, I kept making this prayer back then. I'm like, you cannot have bring me this far to just watch me suffer, right? Like, it's not possible. You're not that kind of father. Like, you're not that kind of father. You can't play me like that.
No way. You
What
can
did
do
I
this to
do?
God. No way.
Right? Like, what did I do to you? Okay, if I did
I
something, I'm
like that.
sorry.
Let's have a conversation. What did
Ah,
I do?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So it be something I did when I was a teenager. Sorry.
Sorry.
When I was in the
Forgive
university,
me.
just
Yeah.
help me. So I just ran to God and I was like, you need to make this easy for me. This cup is too much for me. It's
Mm.
too much for me and I cannot bear it anymore. And if you don't help me, I'm going to lose my mind. There was
Yeah.
a time I packed my bags and I wanted to run back home,
Oh no. Oh
called
no.
everybody home at home. I was like, I'm coming back. I can't do this anymore. I was ready. I packed my bags. I told my husband, it's either I go back home or I'm not doing it again.
Mm.
Like, I can't do this.
You were just at that point, like,
I
no,
was,
take this
I,
anymore.
I just got there. The
Mm.
water was above my head, so I wasn't above water. It was above
Yeah.
my, and somehow God just calmed me down still. Just give me reasons to, just look at what's in front of you. Weeping may endure, but joy always comes in the morning, right?
Mm.
So I feel like it was that faith that I still always had in God that when I even was underwater, do you understand me? I was able to breathe underwater, right? And God was there just giving, supplying oxygen and supplying hope, supplying, don't worry, you overcome. So, and then I had some very good friends from back home that when I spoke with, they were saying the right things. And then I had my husband too, who was, trying his possible best to manage the situation and everything. So all those little supports that I have around me, those supports, not little, of course, that I had around me was very helpful. And then there was something that I did along the line. One time I decided, instead of just staying down and feeling pity for myself, life is going to go on. You're not going to have the job. You're
Yeah.
jobless, you're jobless.
Mm.
But there's so many other things that are working in your life. Like your children are healthy, you are healthy, you're not dealing with one chronic illness, you know? So I started to lean into gratitude for the things that I already had. My husband was thriving in his career and the family was thriving. I was grateful for that, right? And then another thing that also helped me was just leaning back and holding on to my past achievement. I had to start reminding myself, oh, remember this, remember that. Remember how you overcame this. Remember how you were just earning 45,000 at one point, but you were still thriving alone in a city where no family was there for you. I reminded myself of all the days that I have overcome, all my success stories, and the woman that I was back home. And I got strength from her, and I decided, you know what? We're going to pick ourselves up and we're just going to enjoy life.
Mm.
Yes, we're unemployed, but we're alive.
I love that. Yeah.
Yes. I just picked myself up and I just kept going. And I just started taking one day at a time, enjoying my life, enjoying my children and my marriage, and just thanking God for even being here because that on its own is a huge blessing.
Yes, 100%. I agree. So you see, I always say that this podcast is not just your regular podcast. This is where conversations inspire. You learn, it's not just listening, you learn from people's story, the experience they've had, maybe a guide for you. I always say whenever I'm on this podcast, I have a note. I always take notes. You never can tell when it's going to come handy. A lot of people have been in worse situations because the only crime they've committed is being in a different city with nobody, no family,
Mhm.
just alone, struggling to thrive. I tell people, when you say someone, don't assume. A lot of people are bad, and especially immigrants. I go out of my way a lot for a reason. I didn't have, these stories that they tell. Mine was beautiful, probably because we had orientation before we came. I know a lot
Mm,
of people missed on those orientation they had back in Nigeria. They had, I think, 2 sessions in Lagos and in Abuja for those coming to Canada. It maybe probably that helped me a lot. So I knew what I was going to expect and how to manage myself, which truly helped. Well, wow, this is truly inspiring, and I'm amazed at how you were able to come out from that situation, and holding on to that hope, and all the success stories you had to be a focal point for you to keep moving. All right, thank you for that insight. What role would you say your cultural background played in shaping your journey as an influencer in Canada? Like, were there any specific values or lessons from your heritage that guided you or your culture?
I think watching my father and how my father was a people's person.
Hmm.
My father was always there for the people in our community back home in Nigeria. I remember the days when he would just up and travel because of a phone call for that someone's maybe dad or mom died, or he would just up and just leave everything and leave us behind and just travel. And then in the evening you're like, where is daddy, where is daddy? And you're like, oh, daddy traveled to the village. You're like, huh, right? So my daddy was a people's person. So I think that on its own is being an influence, because people have to trust you, right? People have to see you as someone that they can respect, for them to see that you have that much influence, for them to call you when there is a situation on ground. So I grew up with my dad as one of my major role models. And my mom was also a very vocal woman. She always stood up for women back home in Nigeria. I remember there was these two women that I would like to say my mom adopted. They were widows who had kids, and they were not exactly having life easy, but my mom was the one that made sure that they got into all the women activities. And my mom was always fighting for them. She would shop for them, shop for their kids. So I was surrounded by very great influencers, I would say. And also back home in Nigeria, I was raised in the church. And if you were raised in the Catholic Church, you do know that we have a lot of organization, and we had leaders, that we always ran to, we always looked up to. So those people played like principal roles in what everyone now calls the influencer that I'm becoming, or the impact person that I have become. Watching all those people around me. My elder sister is also a great influencer. She had strong roles to play in the life of young girls around me, around us when we grew up. She would just take them in and she would counsel them, mentor them, and advise them, right? And I grew up in a large family. I grew up in a family of 10. So we always had someone canceling someone. So I saw all that. So of course, the values back home, the morals that we were grounded in, the respect that was always um required, was one of the things that probably helped me become the kind of woman who is able to do what I'm doing now. And I cannot take that for granted, that everything that I am now honestly started back home in Nigeria. Maybe I didn't see that back then. I
Hmm.
didn't see this possibility. I didn't see myself as a speaker back in Nigeria, but out in this part of the world, the person that I was in Nigeria is the reason that who I am becoming is possible. So yes, of course, my cultural background, my family, my church, my siblings, my mom, my parents, yeah, they played an instrumental role to the influencer that I am becoming. I like to say impact person,
Okay.
but yeah, but the world calls it influencer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is great to have, people in that direction to be a path for you, right? Which is great. Now let's move back a bit towards your career, right? So how did you get started in your career in Canada? Like what were some of your moments that set you on that path of becoming who you are?
Hmm. After experiencing the traumatic experiences of my son's daycare episodes, I was thrown in so I was thrown in so deep into this very dark place, and I saw a version of myself that was not the woman that I have worked so hard to become. I fell completely. I lost my voice. I lost my confidence, my self-esteem, all gone. And that was just because of the whole um experience, the heartbrokenness and the chaos of just trying to settle into a new place. So when I saw her, there came this moment where I had to look at myself, literally look at myself in the mirror, and I didn't recognize the person that stared back at me.
Oh no.
And I was like, okay, no, 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 this is not who we are, right? And the person in the mirror was mocking me. She was like, look at you. I mean, how the mighty has fallen. Sophia the Sophia, that kind of thing. And then I was like, oh no, you picked the wrong person. We're gonna get out of this. We're gonna come out of this. Because after the third um daycare episode, I just gave up on trying to get a job. I just decided, maybe there's nothing here for me. And I just gave up. I just started, just become gloomy and just struggling through life. But that day, I just picked myself up. I was like, we're going to come get out of this. You're a strong woman. Your children are proud of you, employed or not, right? You're the only advocate your children have. You're the only person who can help yourself because help is not exactly coming, right? So I had to just tell myself all these affirmations, encouragement. And I remember why I started. I remember why I came here for a better life. So I cannot come here and just waste away. So I decided to just embrace that season of my life, knowing that it will pass. Be positive, be optimistic for the life that is to come. I embrace the moment, not like I gave up before, but I no longer felt like I gave up. I just accepted that now is okay. Now Sophie is just a mom, a stay-at-home mom who is not working, even though she wants to work. But well, this season is going to pass. We all have our moments.
Widow.
Embrace that moment, and that was the game changer. So I didn't give up anymore. I started doing all the things that I enjoy doing, showing up for myself. And over time, I was confident enough to apply for the job that I currently have now. If I'd given up completely, I might have seen that and I would just pass, right? But I didn't give up on myself. So I think that was how some of the things that I did. I just reminded myself that this is just a season and it will pass.
Well, interesting. So how did you navigate the Canadian job markets? I know a lot of people are struggling. Probably maybe your story could help someone out there. So how did you navigate the Canadian job markets and adapt to the local work culture? Like, are there any tips that newcomers who might be struggling with this might benefit from?
First things first, I need you to know that you deserve the job. I do not care what anybody has to say. I just need you to first know that you deserve the job. You have the skill set, you have the professional qualifications, and you have what it takes to be in that job. So when you get that job and you tell yourself those things, you automatically position your mindset for a go-getter, for a riser. You'll be intimidated. Trust me, you will feel small, especially if you're like maybe the only black person. You will feel invincible. You will feel like you're just feeling a quota.
Okay.
You're just feeling occupying space. You feel all kinds of ways, but all those things doesn't matter. It's in your head. So it's you that needs to kick those voices out and replace them with the voices that you want to hear. Working in the media space is not easy. It was this huge responsibility for me. I remember the first time I started, I was like, how am I going to walk up to people and want to interview them? How am I going to, my accents, you want to worry about all, don't worry about anything. Speak your Yoruba accent with your chest. We all have accents. We all have a way we look. We all don't look the same. And that's the beautiful thing. But sometimes our minds want to play games on us. That uniqueness is a deficiency, but it's not.
No, it's the
It's
beauty.
actually the thing that changes the game for you. It's actually what you bring to it. You're the spice in the in the soup, like the finishing spice, like the Maggi, you know.
Like the Maggie.
Yes, like the Maggi that changes the game in the soup. Right? So you just tell yourself that this is new. This is new. And new can be overwhelming. It can be intimidating. It can be scary. But hey, guess who's ready? Guess who's capable? Guess who has what it takes? Me. And that's why I got the job. And then you go for it. That's what I did. That's how I was able to navigate the market or the industry I'm in. I never for once allowed my mind to speak over who I am. When it comes, I fight back.
That's another point.
When someone does something to me that is out of place, I remind myself who I am. And I'm like, your opinion of me doesn't matter, but my opinion of myself is really over the roof. So that's what matters. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have your accent, whatever it is, just note that they will do the
Nne, nne,
100
speak
times
your
you understand.
accent.
I don't care. That's how it is. Be yourself.
Speak your arrow, speak your accent. Nothing they happen.
This is crazy. But I like it because then again, you have to be yourself. You have to be your true self. That's a version of you. And when you begin to alter it because you want to fit into some
You
kind,
lose everything.
just lose the you, right? So
Yeah.
please learn from this. How do you balance your role as a community personality, let's say like the influencer, and also the community advocate? And I know you're a change maker as well. So do
Mm.
you find these roles like, conflicting sometimes? Maybe when you're a community advocate, yes, you are. When you're a change maker, yes, you are. When you're influencing or mentoring, yes, you are. But are these conflicting? Probably maybe when you're doing something in all the directions of all of this.
At the core of everything I do, at the core of the very core of everything I do, there is one language that I speak, and that is hope, right? And within that hope, I'm sounding the gong of possibility, right? So whether I am an advocate, whether you choose to call me an advocate, an influencer, a coach, a mentor, I am just the voice of hope in your ears. That's who I want to be. So wherever I find myself as an opportunity to speak or to pour into people, I make sure that I'm not trying to push my fears in you, but I'm telling you the journey and how far I have come, right? And the how far is the hope, right? Not just keeping you hanging on the bad part of my story, but telling you the possibilities, the hope, the joy, and the resilience that comes with it all. So at the core of everything I do is the message of hope, is the message of possibility, is the message of optimism, is the message of it gets better, right? So they never come to a conflicting situation, because I'm coming as my very authentic self with my authentic story. I'm not making a story up. It is something I experience. It is a journey I am experiencing. So I'm not trying to pick from other people's experiences. It is my journey. And that's that way. I'm not going to be in conflict, because this is who I am. When you meet me mentoring, you're still gonna hear something from me when I'm coaching, where I've coached, right? Where I'm in a community and talking to people, you're still gonna hear something. So like it's just hope. It's just to inspire people, to encourage people, to motivate them, to just be a sample and a mirror to reflect that it's possible. It's not easy, but it gets better,
Yeah.
right? So no, it has never gotten to the point where I would consider that there's a conflict of nah. Mm-mm.
So I'm going to push a little towards the direction of challenges. So have you faced any specific challenges as a newcomer, like in your own story when you first arrived Canada, or even if it's a recent thing,
Hmm.
how were you able to address that?
I think the major challenge was the loss of my self-confidence due to all that I was experiencing, having to bear the emotional responsibility of my home, my children, having to be the one who caters to everybody, who caters to them emotionally, in every aspect. Having to know that, just knowing that if I break, everything will break.
Can't afford to break.
It was so much, right? It was so much that I started losing myself, because I became an afterthought. I felt like I was an afterthought. I felt like everybody needed to be okay before I can be okay. So that was the mistake. And then it started affecting my self-confidence, because I started feeling invincible, because I depended on the fact that, oh, if I get a job, I'll feel okay that I'm doing something for myself. But well, the job wasn't coming. And then I was now there just for everybody. And it felt like nothing was happening for me as an immigrant woman. And I just crumbled. My self-confidence just went flying off the roof. And it felt like I did not have anything to offer. Just so your life has ended. You're just going to be a stay-at-home mother.
Wait.
Nothing wrong with that, but that was not what I was hoping for, right? Nothing wrong with that, but that was not the decision I'd made. It was forced on me, right? Due to the circumstances I'd met here. So the loss of my self-confidence is also one of the major challenges I have experienced. And the only way I was able to fight it back was to actually go back inside myself and reconnect with who I was and who I am. Because sometimes a lot of us completely forget who we are back home in Nigeria when we come here, because maybe things are not going as planned. Then you forget that you were the thriving career woman, the great business woman. Because it's not going well here, you completely just forget her. So I went to have a conversation with her, and I was like, "Are you still here? Are you just going to watch me struggle and ah?" And then she was like, I'm still here. I'm just waiting for my moment. I'm just waiting for my time, right? Just give us time." And that was the conversation I had with myself. And then I realized, And then God was also speaking to me in that season, but I wasn't listening. I was trying to do everything, but I wasn't listening for the fact that maybe this is God at play. Maybe God is showing you something. Maybe God is trying to teach you something for your future. But immediately I settled into that fact that my potentials back home in Nigeria is as good as it was back then, as it's at, but is here, is as good as it was in Nigeria. As good as it was in Nigeria, it will still be good here in Canada. I had to just tell myself that there's nothing missing, there's nothing broken. You're not lost. It's just a process. So when I started telling myself all the things that I needed to tell myself, instead of allowing my head do all the talking, and that what is around me, all the things I didn't have, do all the talking, my perspective started to change. The posture of my heart started to change. My mindset started to change towards a more positive angle. And that was how I was able to overcome that season of my life. It wasn't easy. It
It's
took months.
different. Wow.
Yeah, it's not, but you need to constantly remind yourself who you are and how she's just taking time, but soon everybody's going to know her.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get through any season.
It's happening. Well, your definition of a strong woman, you've been through so much, yet you've overcome
Mm.
everything, which is great. And to me, I will say that that is resilience, right? So, what are some key lessons you've learned in all of this, even in your career, your life as an immigrant here, that you wish you had known earlier in your journey?
Do not underestimate what you are capable of doing. Woman, listen to me, madam. Whether you have 10 kids, 5 kids, whether your husband treats you right or not, do not underestimate what you are capable of doing, because so many immigrant women always underestimate themselves and we limit ourselves, right? Our emotions affect how we show up, and it's very limiting. Right? So do not underestimate what you're capable of doing. Do not underestimate those your little dreams, those little things you write down. You call them little, but that could be the game changer for your generation, right? You just have to believe in all of them. And don't let anybody tell you that it's not possible. How are you going to do it with 4 children? How are you going to do this? I remember when I just brought out my jotter last year, my little note, and I just wrote how I want to see myself in 2024. I
Hmm.
wrote speaker, I wrote MC, I wrote everything I wanted to see. I have children, but this is who
Patience.
I am, right? I didn't limit myself. I think 2023 ending was the year that I just broke free from that mindset of, oh, because I am a mother and I'm living in a new country, I have to take it easy. Take what's easy, really. If God calls you to something, it will happen, whether you have 10 children. So please don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. Think of all the things that you wanted to do as a little girl and allow her to fly. And
I
don't shrink her. Just let her live, I beg.
and it's a fly.
Yes, let her take flight.
Yeah. So I know you're into, some community work and stuff like that. So would you want to like share like some examples of some of the impacts of what you're doing in the community?
Mm. I think one of the major things I'm doing is honestly being the neighbor who's walking with you on your journey. I don't want any immigrant woman to feel the way I felt alone.
Hmm.
So when I write my pieces, when I started writing Dear Immigrant, I remember the first day I wrote Dear Immigrant, I was in a very low place. I
Hmm.
had just had a very bad, sad miscarriage. and I was in a very low stage in my life, and I did not know how to communicate it to people. But instead of even communicate about my miscarriage, I decided I wanted to just start talking to fellow immigrants. And then the best way to address them was, "Dear immigrants, how are you?" I think that was the very first one. Like, "How are you doing?" Because I wanted someone to do that with me. I wanted someone to ask me, "How are you doing, really?" These days, sometimes when I ask some immigrant women, "How are you doing?" I always ask, "Okay, now, how are you doing, really? How are you really doing?" And you would be amazed at the sigh of
Yep.
that they let out. They
Hmm.
might not tell you what's happening, but just that sigh of relief, making them feel seen. That's my journey. That's the work I'm doing, making people feel seen, making their voice being heard, telling them that you're not alone, helping them to even find ways to reach people, helping them to manage a situation. That is the work that I'm currently doing. I'm not selling a product. And if I was selling a product, it will be the product of love and support and help, right? So that's what I'm doing. I was just thinking the other day about the next edition of Dear Immigrants, and I was like, and I just sometimes I say it out to myself before I put it down. And then I just started speaking to myself. I was like, "Dear immigrant, how are you doing? Share the best thing someone can say to you, or the best gift someone can do you, is a smile on their face when they see you, or just a hug, or just to ask you, how are you doing? The best gift could be just a kind word. The best gift is to sit with you and not judge you." I was
Yeah.
just saying all those things to myself because sometimes we feel judged. Because when you complain to people back home, they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, come back now."
That's always the word. Oh yeah, come back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you complain to people over here, they might not relate to what you're going through because they've not experienced it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do. I want to just do the work of love, be the foot, just like Jesus. I want to be the person who's walking the walk of love.
That will speak volume because love is love and love is light. And
That's
so, yeah. In what ways do you think that Canada can better support immigrants? Because there's a lot of struggles, and I'm wondering, is it that the community is not prepared to us to welcome the immigrants, or the immigrants are not prepared to settle in the community? So I don't know. This is it's actually a struggle with a lot of immigrants. Like a lot of them are not speaking. They are, dying in silence, wondering, do I go back? Like, why is it not working out for me? So what do you think that, Canada can do better to support immigrants to also be successful in their, in settling in their careers and also in the community?
I may not be an expert because I haven't done any study on that situation, but based on my personal experience and working with so many people from different backgrounds and places in the community, I found out that everybody has a part to play in this question you've asked, right? Some immigrants are afraid to share their story, but you forget that it's through your shared story that you educate people about what you're going through,
Yeah. Hmm.
that you make them aware of your circumstances and your situation. Everybody is thinking, what are people going to say about me? Well, at the end of the day, you talk or not, things are going to be said about you or someone like you. So, what I would say is maybe the people in the world, all over the world, wherever you find yourself as an immigrant and you as an immigrant, we need to do more in educating each other about ourselves. And the only way we can do that, like I always preach, is through storytelling. We need to share more about ourselves. We need to be open to reading more about other people who are not like us. so that we can learn their struggles, we can learn their voices, we can learn their habits, their behaviors. That's the only way we can actually manage each other. And maybe we need to create opportunities where we can all gather. I was speaking to a couple of students a couple of weeks ago, and I told them that when you, as an immigrant, when you walk into a room where you came with your friend or you have an opportunity to attend an event, don't look for the person you know in the room.
Yeah.
Look for the person you don't know and engage them in a conversation. You'll be amazed at what you guys have to share. So
Mm,
that's what I'm saying. We need
that's
to
so
share
true.
more stories. Both parties needs to share more stories. We need to learn more about the Canadian people, and the Canadian people needs to learn more about us.
Yes, 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 yes. I know this saying that says when you Rome, behave like the Romans, right? But
Mhm.
then again, when you behave like them, you still cannot lose your value or where you're coming from. So that is you telling your story by introducing yourself. And you'll be amazed that, some of them don't even know like what situations are, what things
Oh,
are
they don't know.
happening.
I've had that conversation a lot. And you say when you go to Rome, behave like the Romans. You forget that Romans also travel and they behave like the people where they travel to.
Yeah, you're right.
So we
So
need
it's
to.
amazing. So many things. I'm like, oh, really? Wow, you have this. I didn't know that. So
Yes.
yes, I love to interact, like just ask questions. You'd be amazed. I'm like, oh, really? I didn't even know. So this
Mm-hmm.
learning and educating yourself in the process of sharing your own story. It,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of volume in this, and we don't see that. There's value in it.
No,
And
we
I
don't.
appreciate that. Yeah. Um, what final message would you like to share with our listeners today?
Hmm. What I would like to share with everyone um that has allowed me the privilege of sharing my journey and my story with them is to tell them that you need to know that you don't bring anything to the table, you bring the whole table with
Mm,
you as an immigrant. You are the table. You are the big deal. You are everything. You deserve to be here. Stop feeling like you need to hide to make it. Stop feeling like you don't have a place here. You need to come and you need to participate. If you don't participate, you cannot complain.
you're right.
You need
Mm,
to be a part of your community. You need to give back to the community. And most importantly, you need to make sure that you are sticking by your values and, respecting yourself and just being a dignified person in the community. And
mm,
finally, I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to know that you have what it takes to do that thing which you really want to do, and that the life that you hoped for before moving abroad is possible. Give yourself time and grace.
I hope you're hearing that. I just hope that you're learning from this. Can you share any upcoming projects or initiatives that you're excited about?
Right now,
People should be, to look out for.
to look out for. I think one of the most interesting things that I'm looking out to do is working with young immigrants because there's not a lot happening for them. So a lot of them have been reaching out to me, and a lot of them are really interested in videography, So I'm looking for ways to, bring experts together to, maybe teach them a thing or two, teach them what I do,
That would be.
writing.
Mm.
Yes. And one of them even mentioned that I'm actually working on a short film, and I hope that that would come to light soon. I'm working on my book, right? So I have a lot of crazy ideas.
Oh, why I'm laughing is we have a lot in common.
I know, right? So I'm working on
We,
so
we, we have a
many
lot
things.
in common. We
Yeah,
have a lot in common. I bought a
like
director's
mine.
project myself some times ago. And I'm
Ooh.
like, I shall not just go and sell it. It's useless to
No,
me.
no, don't. This is your sign not to
And I
sell
said
it.
to myself that why did you buy it? I had a vision to do short plays, like really interesting, insightful. And I started.
Hmm.
I'm like, you are going to use this chair, you will use it in the chair break.
You.
You break
Yes,
the place.
period.
There's so
Period.
much to be told out there. You say,
Yeah,
me and this woman, we have a lot in common, and I
we
truly
do. So we're
admire
gonna
that
work
a lot.
together.
I have a great admiration for you in a whole lot of it. I do. I admire what you're doing. I admire your personality. I admire the impact, and I admire that you're a great
Oh
mother.
God, I'm not
And
gonna
I
cry.
admire that you're a great wife to your husband, because I see the things you post. I'm like, I'm crazy, but I think there's somebody that is more crazy than I am.
You are casting me.
I'm
You're
crazy. I'm like, but this woman is, I think
a
she's crazy.
finished woman.
Oh, she's crazy. And there are a lot of people out there that you meet that, instantly you just like them, you bond. If you don't go
Mhm.
out there, how would you know that people are out there that are genuinely out there looking out for people? You
Mhm.
never know till you go out there and mix in the community. I know a lot of people that go, I don't want to mix in the community, I don't want to do that. And a number of them are doing business now, and it's the same
Ah,
community that they were shying away from that they're giving them the highest patronage.
mhm.
You need to go out there and give it a trial before you decide to say, it's not for me. What
Yeah,
the See, Canada is sweet, let me tell you. However you want to make it
indeed.
work yourself,
Indeed.
whatever, do it. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
You've learned a lot. There's hope, and you have to
There
move to
is. There are opportunities.
and beautiful
That's
opportunity.
why I like to tell people just give yourself time and trust your process. Don't look at other people's
Oh no,
process.
no, don't ever. Like, no, it's
Focus
your
on
journey. This is
your
yes,
journey.
yours. You'll be surprised or amazed at the great things.
Compare who is in front of you.
Yeah. Um, I
Mm.
know you post the Dear Immigrant thing. I think I saw it on LinkedIn.
That's usually on LinkedIn. It's
Yeah.
going to become a newsletter and maybe a book in the future, but for now,
That would be great. Like, it's
okay.
people want to just read. I'm like, this is true. It happened to me. I know. Yes, this is my story. You're telling it. Did
Yeah.
tell you this is it? That's that idea. That's conviction that comes to
Thank
say,
you so much.
verifying that this is what it actually is.
Yeah, of
Um, I know I'll be sharing your handle, but it'll be great if you just, how can the audience stay connected with you and what you're doing
course.
to learn? Please go ahead.
So, hi, friends. My name is Sophia Etuhube, and I am a reporter and an editor. I live in Fredericton, and I am a mom of two. I moved to Canada in 2021. I am a mentor, I am a coach, I am a speaker, I am an MC, and I do a lot of other things that I would not mention right now. And if you want to find me and follow my journey or share your journey, your immigration journey with me, you can find me on Instagram at living with Sophia underscore. And you can find me on LinkedIn, where I'm also very active, Sophia Etuhube, MSc. And you can find me on Facebook as Sophia Onyeka Etuhube. And I would love to connect with you and just, work this immigration work with you because you are never alone.
Well, you heard that you're never alone. I'll be sharing her details as well. Thank you so much, Sophia. I do
You're
appreciate this.
welcome.
It means a lot to me. Thank
And
you so much, so much. So I
it's a
think I should call you the goofy Sophia. She's goofy. And she's
today
an
I'm
amazing person.
today I'm not in near goofy because I'm trying to cook and also handle the podcast. So today Sophia is a cook and a podcaster.
She's been a busy home manager
It
today.
has
Oh my
been
God.
today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Honored. Thank you.
listening. Thank you. I truly appreciate you all for taking the time to listen to Sophia. Thank you so much. Please go to her page and flood her timeline. And
Please.
please do not forget to, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Life with Bridget, to watch the full episode, and also the social media handles for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all Life with Bridget. Thank you so much. You have a beautiful weekend and
Thank
take care.
you. Bye, guys. Bye, Bridget. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
Sophie. Thank you so much. Regards to the family. Bye.
Oh, yours too.
Thank you.